Get your stinking rat out. It's Late Night Large.
Hey everyone, this is Lockdown Large Extra Time. So this is like a truncated version of the show that we're going to do. We're going to have maybe some football banter. Maybe we'll broaden it into other contexts. But at the moment, it's going to be a football banter show and it's going to be time limited. This is the timer. And so this week, we decided that basically, if we look at the football world, there's a certain trajectory that a lot of careers go down. Normally, you're a Southampton player, you excel, you get your big move to Liverpool, you fail at Liverpool, and you end up at Crystal Palace. But sometimes you're actually extraordinarily successful at a different club, and then maybe you move to another club somewhere else in the European or world sphere, excel on the world stage, and then at some point you come back to the original club of your heart, either in your twilight years or in some other context. So this week's theme we're going to talk about is homecomings turning sour with a question mark, featuring Frank Lampard and Gareth Bale. And we're going to just set the timer for 20 minutes and away we go. Mike, what did you think about
the
I was going to say the pressure's getting to you. Mike, what do you think about let's go to the Frank Lampard situation. So obviously, at the time of talking, he lost his job not long ago, already got a replacement as you'd expect with Chelsea. What's your opinion on Frank and his managerial return to Stamford Bridge? Was his sacking inevitable? Was it deserved? Do you think he deserved more time? Do you think he deserves to get the job in the first place?
Yeah, well, I get where you're going. Look, I think that with things like that, it's difficult because you do see that a lot these days. Solskjaer as an example. Now, obviously, we'll probably touch on why perhaps they're not exactly the same, but it's a club kind of legend icon or whatever you want to call it, coming back and having a crack at the top job. I think that it's difficult when it's someone like that, because if you're a fan of that club, I think your natural inclination is, well, hang on, I just spent 5, 10, 15, 20, in some cases years rooting for that player. That's my boy. So you think like, no, like, give him more time, but it's difficult because I suppose the club at the top level, they need to look at it objectively and they go, yeah. So is just having someone the fans love good enough? Is that good enough for this club where we want it to be, where we want to go? Financially, is that a wise long-term decision to stick with someone who isn't delivering what we want, regardless of how loved they are? So it's difficult, isn't it? But what I would say is, when you talk about Chelsea in particular, it's inevitable. It was inevitable. How long did he think he was going to be there? Did he think he was going to do a Fergie? That's not how Chelsea roll. They've had much bigger, better, more experienced managers and sacked them off after 12, 18, 24 months.
Very good point.
That's just their model. That's how they work.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, what I'd add, Mike, to build on what you said, I mean, let's face it, I think they actually did a breakdown of trophies. If you look at the period since Abramovich took over Chelsea, I think they're close to, the whole of Europe. They're close to the whole of Europe, but I think almost certainly England, they are the most successful team in terms of trophies during that spell since Abramovich has taken charge. So anybody who says, oh, it's never going to work chopping and check. You need longevity. You need time to build a dynasty. You need time for players to settle and a style. And no, Abramovich does things that way. And what are you going to judge him by? The trophies? Well, you look at his cabinet. If you say I don't agree with Abramovich, why don't you agree with him? Because I don't think it works. Trophy cabinet? It clearly fucking does work. So what are you talking about? So that's number one. Number two is you're completely right. What you were saying about there is a fad almost at the moment with former playing heroes being invited back to be manager. The latest, of course, Andrea Pirlo, Juventus. But we had Zidane, Guardiola, who are probably the biggest profile examples and have been hugely successful. That's the model you hope to follow, isn't it? Everyone hopes to have a Zidane or a Guardiola, well, more a Guardiola, but definitely a Zidane or a Guardiola. We've got obviously Ollie at the wheel, and Arteta is in at Arsenal. Again, they're hoping Guardiola magic rubs off on him, with the jury's out at the moment. But with people comparing Lampard to Solskjaer and Arteta again, it's a red herring, isn't it? Because the model of our clubs is not the same as Roman Abramovich. I'll just throw one thing in before I throw back to you, Mike.
Go.
Roman Abramovich, would you argue that he has almost more power than any chairman in the entire Premier League? What I mean by that is he is under no pressure from the fans. Now, you might say, oh, the fans aren't happy. The fans are, they want Frank to carry on. He's a hero. They're really unhappy with this. What are they going to fucking do? Legitimately, their club would be nowhere without Abramovich. It's just it's proven. Look back at their record. One league title in their entire history till Abramovich takes over. So you're telling me that the fans are going to go Abramovich out? No, he owns and runs and is the king of that football club. If he wants a club hero out the door in 18 months, they're out the door. You can grumble. You don't grumble for long. And here's the new guy. Cheer him on.
Yeah, I think you're right in a way. What Chelsea fan is going to turn around and they can like something, they can disagree with something, who's going to turn around and say Abramovich out? Because he goes, so does his money. So the money that made you what you are. So that half decent, semi-respectable side. Abramovich comes along, and all of a sudden, boom, most successful side since. Like you said, they've won more trophies than anyone else since he came along. So it is hard to argue with that. It is hard to argue with it, and people, like you say, people can like the decisions he makes, or they can not. But I don't think he's going to be too bothered, and he'll just go, well, yeah, guys, fair enough, but look what we did. And he's handled some of the biggest names in football as well. I mean, Jose. Do you know what I mean? He's if he can sort out the circus that comes along with Jose Mourinho and hiring and borrowing him and getting him back and getting rid of him again and stuff like that. I think the only thing is with someone like Lampard is, which I think they did, they handle it with a bit of sensitivity. Then people, even if they don't like it too much, they can turn around and say, look, we love Frank as much as you do. Look what he did for us as a player. You could argue that without Lampard, they might not have had the successful era that they've had since Abramovich came. So he'll be every bit as thankful to Frank as any of the fans for what he's done. And I'm sure they do get on well. He wouldn't have been given the job if they didn't. So as long as they handle it in a sensitive kind of way, which I think they did. I think they just said, I think the way they said it was, we feel like it's the best time for a change of manager. They didn't slag him off. They didn't criticise his performance, position in the league, or anything like that. Just, we think it's the best time to change the manager. So, as long as he doesn't do anything too fucking crazy, who's going to argue with Abramovich?
Yeah, they've treated. Oh, sorry, a bit of audio issues. They've treated, like you say, they've treated a lot more esteemed managers than Frank Lampard a lot worse. You know, sacking Carlo Ancelotti in the tunnel after the last game of the season, for instance. You know, the way they treated Ranieri, I don't think was particularly classy. These kind of things. But okay, so trying to make it still about Lampard rather than Abramovich. Mike, do you think? I'll just say something I find really interesting about the Lampard situation. So, if we remember Lampard as a player, so I mean, I don't know if you can remember that far back. Obviously, a little bit younger than me, but when Lampard was breaking through at West Ham, he was not popular. He was not popular at all. I don't know if you remember this, but he was. I don't know if he was. It was the stage where he was being booed by his own fans. But West Ham fans, there was a famous press conference. You know those conferences where club members can show up, like an AGM or something, and they can talk about the manager and stuff. And somebody brought it up and said, this youth player, who I don't even remember the name of, why aren't you playing him more often? Why are you sticking Frank Lampard in there? We've got this amazing youth player. Can't even remember his name. That's how well he did. You know, why isn't he in the team? And I remember at the time that wasn't a controversial opinion, because the problem with Lampard's situation, and I feel for him in a way, but Lampard's situation is he was always viewed as someone who had a leg up, a permanent leg up in his career. So if you look at the way he broke through at West Ham, Lampard isn't like most footballers. Most footballers come from the school of hard knocks. They're working class lads done good. Lampard wasn't. Lampard had a private education because his old man was a successful footballer. You know, that's why for the first couple of years of his career, he was called Frank Lampard Jr. Now everyone is just, it's just Frank Lampard. No one even remembers his dad. But at the time, his dad was the big star. He was the kid, and everyone accused him at West Ham of, you know, Harry Redknapp's his uncle. He's only in the team because of nepotism. And to be fair, he was half decent at West Ham. I couldn't see how good he could become. And to be fair to Lampard, I think it's a case of he was working his absolute nuts off to get to the level he got in his career. And obviously, you know, all-time Chelsea top goal scorer. They love him there. But let me ask you this, Mike.
Yes, well, they should, yeah.
Let me ask you this. Do you think he deserved the job in the first place? But let's just give it some context. Remember the previous managers of Chelsea. So Jose Mourinho arrives. He's won the UEFA Cup and the Champions League, one after the other. That was his credentials. Then you get Scolari, World Cup winner. Villas-Boas just won the UEFA Cup with Porto. Again, you could argue, am I being harsh in saying that Lampard was more of a Di Matteo appointment? Or is that being harsh on Lampard?
I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure it is being harsh. I mean, put it this way.
What Frank Lampard achieved in his career?
That's what I'm saying. If he wasn't Frank Lampard, if he was another club legend, if he was from a different club, if he spent his whole career at Arsenal, even if he'd done what he did for Chelsea, for Arsenal, would he have been given the Chelsea job?
I think we know the answer.
Yeah, I think we do. So, did he deserve it in the conventional way? Objectively, you'd have to look at it and say probably not. You know, had he earned the right to such a huge club when there are managers out there doing a lot more for a lot longer, slugging it through the leagues or whatever? No, you know, but then, you know, people are given jobs like that for different reasons, and it isn't just nepotism. There's all sorts of reasons. You know, a big thing, and I think especially for people like Abramovich will be, I'm not to take it away back to Abramovich, but will be trust. So actually, if you know someone personally, you know everything about them and the way they want to play football, you know the personal, you're probably more likely to give them or want to work with them than someone you don't know as well, even if they on paper look a little bit more. Whoever you hire, it's a risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whoever you hire, it's a risk. But sometimes it's, you give it to someone you know, even if they're not quite as qualified.
I see what you're saying there. Sorry, Mike. There was a bit of audio problems there, but I think we got what you meant about. You missed a few words, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. So, no, take that on board. Okay, really quickly, because otherwise we're not going to have any time for Gareth Bale. Do you think objectively? Do you think what would you grade Lampard's performance as manager at Chelsea? Would you say he was a complete failure? He did moderately well, or he was a relative success? How would you judge it?
Closer to failure than success.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same, particularly if you compare him to his predecessor, Sarri, who won the Europa League and League Cup final and finished in the Champions League places and got sacked for it.
Yeah. Was it all bad? No. But were there some good performances? Yes. But was it what you need to be a successful Chelsea manager? No.
Okay, very good. I'll just quickly round it off by saying I think what proves our point is obviously he had the lowest points per average game of any Chelsea manager in the Abramovich era. So I think that tells its own story. One more thing as well, by the way, just on the nepotism thing, really quickly. Like I say, Lampard's had accusations, sometimes unfairly, of nepotism thrown at him. I tell you what was nepotism, though. I don't know if you saw this. What the hell are Sky and other outlets doing? He gets sacked. Who are they interviewing? I saw an interview with Joe Cole. Oh, it's completely wrong. Oh, right, Joe. You first of all, you sound really smart, and you clearly are not a huge mate of Frank Lampard. So you're going to give a really objective view here. Who else are they interviewing? Jamie Redknapp, his cousin. Harry Redknapp, his uncle. And they all disagree with the sacking. Oh, that's amazing. Anyway, on to Gareth Bale then. So this is a strange one, isn't it, Mike? When I don't know about you, but when Mourinho signed Gareth Bale, I thought, particularly when there was no fee, I was like, oh, Mourinho masterclass again. He's pulled it off. What a great sign! It's like it's a win-win signing. We know he's not going to be exactly like he was at Real Madrid, but that ability is not just going to desert him. He's going to have an impact, a little bit less often, but and he arrives, and how long has he been here now? Since the beginning of the season, wasn't it? So we've seen he's been here 4 or 5 months, something like that. I hardly remember him having any impact. He's hardly started any games. What do you think is going on there?
I'm not entirely certain. I mean, it'd be interesting to speak to him, really, wouldn't it? But I've seen a lot of people kind of, because you're right. I think most people, when they saw that, they thought, "Fucking hell!" Like, because at the time, you looked at Tottenham's team and you looked and you thought they've got some good players. They've got some good players, and then you add Gareth Bale to that mix, and you think, "Fucking hell, that is deadly." Bale, Son, Kane.
Mm-hmm.
That's naughty, but since then, when obviously it's not even come close to living up to the hype, not the impact that perhaps fans or actually anyone thought he might have. You're right. No one thought, right, this is fucking Galactico Bale, but we all thought it was going to be, the impact would come a bit quicker than it has. Not that it has yet, and it would be a bit more dramatic than it was. So,
okay. Do you? Yeah, I think we both agree that we both agree that there's no. He clearly hasn't had anything like the impact we expected of him. Do you blame him or Mourinho for that? Do you think it's Mourinho not using?
Well, I've seen a lot of people say, "What do you expect when you take on a golfer?" So is it that he is just? I mean, class is permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Is Gareth Bale an extremely gifted and talented footballer? Yes. But something isn't right. Is it, is it that he's not quite getting over these niggly injuries? Is that what it is?
Fair point.
And it's kind of hampering him and holding him back, quite possibly. Is Mourinho holding him back? Like you say, who is to blame? I'm not sure. Maybe there is any blame. I think Mourinho was he didn't overhype it when he got him either. He didn't start singing from right, we're going to win the fucking league. Look what I've done, boys. Bought in Bale. Lovely. No, didn't do it. Probably because he knew, or he's been around and he's a bit wiser than to go, right, fucking, here we are. I'm going to overpromise and underdeliver. He's not going to want to do that.
Yeah.
So as confident as he is in himself, I don't know. I think whatever you think of Mourinho, he knows how to get the best out of the best. Generally, I'm not saying he's the perfect manager, but you talk about players in Gareth Bale's mould or of that ability. There are very few managers that have as much experience with them than Mourinho.
Yeah.
As much as he does. So, do I think that if Bale was capable at the moment of performing and having the impact that probably all the Tottenham fans wanted or hoped that he'd have, I think Mourinho would be getting out of him. So I think the problem probably lies with Bale.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. Okay. Well, we've hardly got any time left. So quickly, Mike, do you think we will see the best of Bale, or is he just going to struggle through with a series of niggling injuries, and then at the end of the season it'll be like, "Cheers, Gareth. Off you go. Find yourself another club."
I think, unfortunately, that it probably is going to be a bit of a flop now. I hope that we do see at least close to the best of Bale as long as he's not playing against United.
Yeah. Well, there is the argument, isn't there, as well? Oh, okay, we ran out of time. I'll just say that I'm probably inclined to agree with you. It's a real shame, but it'd be great if he could. But anyway, that's all we got time for on tonight's Lockdown Large Extra Time. We'll see you next time.